peace memes and the peace story all the way networking across the planet, and you see it. I mean, the statistics are unbelievable as to where we're going in this networking process. It's only just begun. If you think we're advanced, you should see what they're thinking in technology terms and in terms of how fast this networking will break through. But it's a giant challenge to us too, because what we want to make sure is that for all of those peace messages we send out in those social networks and on the web, that we also cross the threshold from the web into the reality. So the virtual and the actual have to meet, right? That's our big process of saying we now need to cross the threshold. You see it happening in Egypt. And the Egyptian government helped out, by the way, because they talk about the Facebook revolution in Egypt and all of the social networking that gave those memes and messages about peace and new paradigms. And then when things were cooking, the Egyptian government cut off the cell phones and cut off the internet. And what did that do? It brought people out into the streets from behind their computers, off their phones, to meet each other, to bond, to ignite those passions together, to feel the sensorial reality. This is imagination lived. When you actually cross that threshold and you experience the embodiment of the other, then you think all that I've been dreaming is coming into being, it's being actualized. And so our great teachers are the ones who are teaching us at this moment how to go from the virtual into the actual and back again, so that we send each other these messages, these healing messages, and then we do something that's unbelievable. We enact it. We enact it like my friend, the 15-year-old woman in Palestine who was shot at close range and in her upper thigh by an Israeli soldier. And you know what? She kept from her parents the fact that she had a bullet in her body, because when she got to the hospital, they said, sorry, the wound is too deep, we can't pull it out. And she did this incredible subterfuge to keep her parents from knowing that she was involved in the demonstrations. So she carries the bullet. And you know what she did with that bullet? She transformed the pain and the indignity of that. She's now a therapist who works with others, helping them live through and understand what life can be beyond oppression. There's another friend of mine in Northern Ireland who was shot. I know several people in my work who carry bullets in their bodies, and she was shot going into her office one day. There was a sniper on the roof, and she was shot in several places. One of the bullets went right next to her heart, right lodged beside the aorta. She lost pints of blood on the way to hospital. And then when she came to consciousness, the doctor explained, look, you've got a bullet next to your heart, ... And then 3 weeks later, he came to her and he said, Frances, you're obviously not dying. You're going to have to get on with your life. And she said, with a bullet next to my heart? You want me to get on with my life? And she talks about feeling that anger, that initial reality, those real emotions, and letting them through her. But she knew they were toxic. And so she resolved to make peace, to be a peacemaker, to bring healing and peaceful reconciliation between Catholics and Protestants in Northern Ireland. Now there's a victim story. What happened to you? Well, I got a bullet next to my heart, She could have lived, the queen of the victims. Outdo that. You can't do better than that, really. What you got? Oh, you hear that? We do that victim stuff. Huh? But here's what I want to say about Frances and 9/11 and America today. Frances is a single woman who said, "The bullet stops here. It stops right next to my heart, and I will not send it on anywhere else. And I will not send on the hatred anywhere else. And I will use my incredible divinely given capacity to be a human being who resolves hatred, who brings reconciliation." And I say to America, you're big enough, you're great enough, you're bold enough to be able to take your wounds and resolve them at these levels of reconciliation and forgiveness and peacemaking for the world. That's our message, I think, for 9/11 and for really imagining how peace begins with us. Thank you.
Thank you.